I understand that as I'm about to say all of these things about the Detroit Lions, that I need to set a couple of. I need to make it obvious what I know about this team. This team is not a Super Bowl contender. This team is not a playoff contender. This team is not a team who's going to contend within their own division. This is a team right now, how they're set up with Jared Goff at quarterback, with the weapons that they have, with the defense that they have. This is not set up to be a team that wants to compete. Actually, I shouldn't say that. They want to compete. This is not a team that is going to be competing at the end of the season. That's how I should say that. Due to the fact that the NFL is based on record and not what team tries harder, the Detroit Lions, unfortunately, are not going to be around once the playoffs come around. And there's a very good chance that by week 16, 17, and 18, we're seeing some names in there that you wouldn't really see on other top-tier competitive rosters. With that being said, man, I don't like to overreact to one episode of Hard Knocks, but man, there's something different about the Detroit Lions right now. There's something very different with this roster. There's something different with this franchise. Look, I'm 22 years old, about to be 23 years old. This is the only time in my life that I think I've been excited to see what the Detroit Lions are going to do. Again, they don't have a great quarterback. They don't have an incredible set of weapons. I think their running back and their wide receiver group is really good. I think that the talent in the NFL is just, you compare what the Lions have to the rest of the NFL, it doesn't really compare to everybody else. I still think they have a chance to be a team that was much better than they were last year. And, people want to talk about systems with quarterbacks. Quarterbacks get a second year in the system. This is one of those teams in the Detroit Lions, with the way their coaching staff is set up, with the way their roster is set up. This is a system for the entire team. And I draw a lot of comparisons to this 2022 Detroit Lions team to the couple years before the Seattle Seahawks started to take off under Pete Carroll. They obviously don't have a Russell Wilson type quarterback. They obviously don't have a Legion of Boom type defense. They obviously don't have many other roster alignments in place to say that they are comparable to that Seahawks squad. But when you look at how Dan Campbell orchestrates his practices, how he orchestrates the way he talks to his team, how he orchestrated this coaching staff with 80 plus years of NFL experience, there's not a single coach on this team that doesn't have the ability to speak to the players in the way that he wants to, because all of these coaches have done it and have done it at a very high level. Mark Brunell is the author of one of the greatest upsets in NFL history over the Denver Broncos when he was the quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars in the divisional round. Aaron Glenn was a cornerback for 15 years who was an elite player. Deuce Staley, elite player. All of these coaching members and the guy at the top of it, in Dan Campbell, were very good players in their own right, and were almost elite players in some of their cases. And when you see the speeches that Dan Campbell gave after practice, and you also pair that with the speech that Jamaal Williams gave the team after practice, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I know everything about Jamaal Williams. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I've known everything about him from his stops in Green Bay and in Detroit. But what I can tell you is that's something that I don't think a lot of people, probably not many of Jamaal Williams' teammates, have seen him do. And I could be completely wrong about that. I am willing to say I'm completely wrong about that. But what I am willing to say is I've never seen that from Jamaal Williams. I've never seen that type of competitiveness. I've never seen that type of passion. I've never seen that type of... it was almost anger from Jamaal Williams. And I love it. I fucking love it. Just the thing he's saying. Like, every time he thinks he gets tired, he thinks of that fucking record. Like, that's shit that, like, that gives you goosebumps. And just the way this team has been put together, the way this front office has allowed Dan Campbell to do what he thinks he needs to do to be able to bring the Detroit Lions back to some sort of contention within their division, and hopefully within some sort of time frame bring this team to a hopefulness of being able to compete for an NFL championship. I love it because I don't think there's any coaching staff that could do something like that than what is already in place in Detroit. I think in Detroit right now, there's a certain feeling around this franchise within the front office, within the coaching staff, within the players, that something's being built here. Now, it's obviously going to take time. They're probably going to have another top 5 draft pick this year, and it's probably going to be spent on one of these quarterbacks coming out of the NFL draft, whether it's CJ Stroud, whether it's Bryce Young. I think Bryce Young actually has another year after this year. I'm not completely up to date on all of my quarterback things for college. I'm more of the look at the NFL and then wait till college is done to see who's good. But at the end of the day, they're going to have a high draft pick at the end of this year, and they're going to be spending it on somebody, more than likely a quarterback or more than likely another high-impact defensive player to pair with Aiden Hutchinson for the next 10 years. Again, you shouldn't be betting on this team to make the playoffs. You shouldn't be betting on this team to win their division. You shouldn't be betting on this team really to do anything besides have a top 5 overall draft pick at the end of the year, because that's exactly what should be happening. And the difference between what they have built, though, as a team who is still rebuilding, and someone like, I don't know, the Miami Dolphins. Look, the way that Miami has done it compared to what Detroit has done, and it's funny because Miami had Dan Campbell in their building and decided to let him go, and now he's building something great in Detroit. The difference is Miami had to pay their players to lose, had to pay their coaches to lose, because they tried to build something and then they said, oh, wait, we don't like our quarterback. And then they got the quarterback they wanted the whole time in Tua Tagovailoa. And then it was like, oh, wait, well, we want Tom Brady, even though why would Tom Brady come to Miami when there's no weapons? And then they finally get weapons. And then it's like, oh, yeah, we want Tom Brady now again. We're going to illegally tamper. Like, the way Miami has done this rebuild compared to what Detroit is doing right now, it's 10 times better what's going on in Detroit. Even if Miami had double-digit wins last year, I don't think they had double-digit. They either had 9 or 10. At the end of the day, no matter how many more wins Miami had than Detroit last year, I am much more confident in what Detroit is doing than what Miami is doing, because Miami is kind of doing this thing where they're about to plateau as being maybe a wild card playoff team, where Detroit is still at the bottom of their ascension. They're going up, but they're still at the bottom of going up. And once they start reaching that middle point, and then once they get to the top of where they want to be, once Aiden Hutchinson is in his 3rd year, once they finally get this linebacking room figured out, once this coaching staff knows everybody on this roster, I think the way they want to, and once they get the quarterback figured out, this team in Detroit is not only going to be competing for the playoffs, not only going to be competing for a divisional championship, their first one in decades since they've won the division. Definitely since well before I was alive. Probably since well before you were alive. If you're that old, it might even be before you were alive too. It's been so long since Detroit has been at this spot. It's pretty much been since Barry Sanders, since Detroit has been in this spot, which is a team that can be rallied around by the city of Detroit. And I think it's a team that this city is really going to love, and they're really going to get behind. And they already have a coach that I think the whole city loves, and I think the whole franchise loves. And that's honestly the first domino that has to fall. Once you get this coach and this coaching staff right, it's so much easier to develop players and mold players into what you want, because you have the confidence of not just everybody in the building, but everybody outside of the building as well. and I am one of those people.